So even the stories we read and we teach our children, that we give them to read, can affect the way they see themselves, the way they see other people, the way they interact with people, because that's the image we give folks in their heads. Words, I'm a lawyer and a poet, words create our reality. So here are the 4 parts of story. A story is a vessel for information. A story creates an emotional connection, which is why I love B-list romantic comedies. Stories create our cultural identity, and stories are entertaining. I'm going to play a story for you. Some of y'all learned this story a long time ago. How many of y'all know Goldilocks and the Three Bears? Who knows where they learned that story at? A public school. Anybody, raise your hand if you remember exactly who told you this story. Raise them high. Okay, so like 7 of you know exactly who told you this story. I want you to watch it closely. Well, I cannot believe we teach children this story. When I thought about it. All right. Goldilocks walks up to a house that isn't hers. Knocks on the door, no one answers, and she just walks in. I'm a lawyer. I work with kids in the criminal legal system trying to help them get free. She just broke and entered. Now, I'm not advocating that we call the police, but I'm just saying she broke and entered, and nobody bats an eye at it. She continues on her way. Also, somebody explain to me why a little white girl is skipping through the forest by herself. No one thought that was unusual. Like, people call CPS on little children at the park alone, let alone skipping through the forest. Anyways, I digress. So she's just entered the house without permission. There's food on the table, and she's like, I'm hungry. I'm going to just eat it. She tries every bowl, eats the last one, and then in this video, they have the nerve to leave the bowl upside down. Goldilocks has no manners, didn't even put it in the sink. Then she's like, I should sit down. Goes up in the spot and sits down in all the chairs and breaks the smallest one. Malicious mischief. Okay? She's just racking it up right now. She might need to come to my program. Then Goldilocks is tired. She's broken entered. She's broke a chair. She ate all the food. She got the itis. Okay? And then she decides she should take a nap. She tries every bed, and it doesn't even say she took her shoes off. She climbs in the bed with her shoes on. Oh, my goodness. And then she stays there, finds a bed that works for her, and she's asleep. And the 3 bears come home. They're like, oh, snap, the door's open. Did we leave the door open? That's what I would have thought, because sometimes I'm in a rush leaving the house. I've left my keys in the door. That's on recording. Never do it again. So, they probably, maybe they question themselves. I'm reading the subtext here. They go in the house. Now, they know they didn't eat the food because they left it there to cool. They see the chair is broken. They see their beds are all messed up. And then Goldilocks is in the bed and has the nerve to run away scared. We teach this story to children. We call the main character Goldilocks. She almost always, actually, I've never seen a brown Goldilocks. She always has white skin, blue eyes, and this blonde curled hair. We're literally teaching it's okay for white folks to do this, and then that brown folks can't be mad about it. Some people will say I'm reading too deep into this. Let me tell you why I don't think so. The original story of Goldilocks and the 3 bears was actually about 3 bachelor bears. It was a poem. It was an oral story first that later got written down. And it was over in England, over the pond. And they tell the story, and it's not Goldilocks in the story, it's an old silver-haired woman. And everybody knows that there's 3 bachelor bears living out in the woods, and most people don't go mess with them, but the silver-haired woman goes and knocks on the door and is like, yo, let me in. And they're like, no. And then she's like, no, let me in. And they're like, Nah. So then they like go out and she goes in. And then they come back and the story ends with, you don't know what happened to the silver-haired woman. The point of the story is, if folks is like, don't come in my house, don't go in their house. Especially not 3 bachelor bears. But the story then gets written down. The research that I've done says that an auntie wrote it down for some for her nieces and nephews. And the story starts to change from the original oral story. And as it makes its way to the United States, not only does the story change to Goldilocks and the 3 bears, but it's given images. And the images look a lot like the ones we saw in this video. Maybe not as cartoony. They were like kind of real art first and then cartoony art. And you start to see the way the story shifts. As you add images to it, the image of who was in each role begins to shift. And in the United States, when you read police reports of folks who have been shot by police, they say they looked what? Suspicious. Threatening? What kind of threatening? Like a monster or animal-like. So then you think about the fact that this story has shifted so much from its original story. Almost everyone in this room knew the story, and only like 7 of you knew where the story was told to you. Now, I'm not going to say that people who rewrote the story did it on purpose because it was like their grand master plan for white supremacy. But I do think white supremacy made its way into the way that the story got told and the images that got attached to it. And then it becomes a part of our culture, becomes a part of the way that we see people, becomes a part of our interactions. And this is literally something we teach very little people. I always challenge people when I share this. Imagine if the story had ended differently. Imagine if Goldilocks had fled and the bears like made a post on Facebook. Yo, someone who looks like Goldilocks ate up all our food, broke our chair. And then Goldilocks' parents see the Facebook post and they're like, Goldilocks, you gotta go apologize. And you gotta fix the chair. And you gotta play with Baby Bear. And you gotta mow their lawn for a year. What if there was some sort of relational accountability attached to the story that required Goldilocks to account for her behavior and humanize the experience of the bears? How terrifying would it be to have someone in your house break your chair, eat your food, and then still be sleeping in your child's bed? And then we tell the story like, that's okay, that's Goldilocks. But we do this. I work with young people in the criminal legal system, where when young Black children take things, it's like the worst thing that's ever happened in the world. And when young white kids come into court, they're automatically offered diversion like, that's cool, it's just a Gucci purse. Which it is just a Gucci purse. My wish is that every kid got the opportunity to be heard out as to why they made those decisions and offered a diversion into restorative justice. But that's not the world we've set up with the stories that we tell.